G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. You are here for my round 13 tips of the 2023 AFL season, second week of the buys. So we are now starting to really rip through the season. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That'd be heavily appreciated. And let's kick it off with my tips from last week. Okay everyone, so my tips from round 12 last week, I managed to get a 6 out of 7, so I'm pretty sure the majority of people probably would have gotten a good score. I guess you can say some pretty simple tips with a few 50-50s. Did tip the D's over the Blues, just had good faith in them. Better team on paper, the Blues horrifically out of form. Pretty easy tip with Port Adelaide. Odd game this one. The first half, wow, Port Adelaide looked like the best team ever, and then the second half, you could say they were pretty exhausted, and a really disappointing second half from them. But the Hawks, yeah, not a bad effort in that second half. Really could have been a 150-point margin from that first half, what we did witnessed. Did tip the Pies, close game up to around the midway through the third term, looked close, but yeah, just the the Pies' extra numbers, fresher legs, and just backed in their system to get a good win on the road. This one did cost me. It did back in the Bulldogs just based on form, and I didn't like the matchups with Geelong heading into the game. But one thing you cannot count out with Geelong is they are probably one of the most high chemistry and well-balanced teams in the comp. They get really good output from their role plays. Gary Rowan had a great game. Blicavs in there, Atkins in there too. Ryan Myers was terrific, and Tom Stewart probably one of the best on ground. They got a very good gutsy win on the road at Marvel Stadium. Backed in the Suns with this probably 50-50 game. Looked like it was a terrible tip halfway through the first term, but the Suns just aged on as the game wore on and were just more physical, out-hunted Adelaide, especially in the midfield. Went with a close game here, felt the Tigers would win it in a pretty close and scrappy game. High-scoring affair it was, really a one end-to-end sort of affair, but yeah, the Tigers get the job done in the end. And then backed in the Dons, pretty much everyone probably went with this tip, and I mean, probably a get-out-of-jail-free card. Thought North did very well to stay in the game and almost win it, but yeah, the Bombers pinched them in the end, thanks to some very clutch moments. So 6 out of 9. Hopefully we can continue the good form of tipping. So we are returning to Thursday night games. How bloody good. It's always mixed opinions with Thursday night footy. Some people love it, other people hate it. But with this now coming into effect, the tipping videos will of course now be back out on Tuesdays. But yeah, first one here, we've got a beauty. The Sydney Swans hosting the St Kilda Footy Club in a ripping affair. It's going to be Buddy Franklin's 350th game. St Kilda coming off a bit of bad form, whilst the Swans are on the other hand, they've got a few more wins under their belts, and it's a game that they're playing at the SCG on their home turf. And the Saints, I did read this, the last time the Saints beat the Swans in Sydney was 2009, so obviously history doesn't really come into effect for the Saints. So many variables to look at when heading into this game. You've got Ross Lyon versus John Longmire. Usually the old assistants, people that work with John Longmire, seem to play good footy against the Swans. Obviously Stewie Jew with the Suns, they seem to play good footy against the Swans. So I feel like Ross the boss is definitely one of the best men to have good inside knowledge on how to dismantle the Swans system. Both teams' game styles this year, especially the Saints, they have included more faster ball movement, so I feel like it could maybe be a bit of a high-scoring affair. But with the Saints a little bit out of form, I feel like teams have been able to go to homework on really penetrating their defence, sort of just taking the game on a little bit more. We've seen that with a few performances, and when you can really put the Saints' backline under duress, you seem to pile on scores, whilst with the Saints in general, they haven't been able to really put on scores as of late as well. But yeah, both teams off the bye, we don't know what to expect. Both teams, obviously with fresher legs. No Luke Parker for the Swans, no Hunter Clark for the Saints, so a little bit of midfield firepower excluded from their lineups. Obviously, you look at probably the defensive and forward matchups. Max King up against, I think Dane Rampy's back in the team. Tom McCartan isn't. So yeah, still a little bit of an undermanned defence for the Swans. But what we did see is they defend well as a back six when they're up and about Sydney. They did that very well against the Blues the other week ago, so I feel like if they can be very cool and composed in their defensive half and get it out nice and safely where they usually are good in that area, the Swans, I feel like they do have the advantage here. Yeah, the Saints are just a question mark with how they're going to continue their game style. They need to find an extra plan on finding extra avenues towards goal. I felt apart from Max King, they're not getting enough output from their forwards the past few weeks, so yeah, it's a tough one here, but I will back in the Swans at home. I do reckon in this Thursday night clash, just because things fall into favour a little bit. A bit of belief is growing with them as well. So yeah, I think Sydney will get the job done Thursday night. Maybe a little bit of a scrappy affair. I think it'll be pretty hot in the kitchen, hot in the contest, but I reckon the Swans will run away with it and win by 18 points. Then we've got another Friday night beauty here. The Western Bulldogs taking on Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium, 7:50 p.m. Port Adelaide, well, they're 9 wins in a row. They're absolutely flying. But maybe the past weeks from when we have seen them not play so good in particular patches, maybe they have a little bit of chinks in their armour in terms of their defensive half efforts. And I feel like with the Bulldogs, they've been inconsistent with their forward half use, and especially going inside 50. So yeah, both teams do have their problems, of course, but Port Adelaide, what they've been so good at is just their really good ball movement. I feel like their transition's been sensational. They've been picking out really good options, and just everyone on their team has been playing superbly well. But how much do you take out of it from that second half? Do the Bulldogs look at that and say, hey, we can really attack here, we can probably try and take the game on a little bit, but they're having issues of their own. I feel like this game is probably a 50-50. I know Port Adelaide have been awesome the past 9 weeks or so, but you probably think they're expected for a loss, and maybe we're starting to see, especially the past 2 weeks, I feel like throughout patches, the game against the Tigers and the Hawks, they didn't really play the most superstar sort of footy brand. So I feel like Port Adelaide, if they're up and about, they should win this game. But for me, the Bulldogs, they've been just the team the past 2 weeks. They've been terrible with executing their forward half. Honestly, the past 2 weeks, they probably should have won those games given the stat differentials and inside 50s they had. But if they can just be better with their method going their forward half, they have the upside with it, with the pretty low injury list. I know Richards is out as of late, but they still got a star-studded midfield, and they should get the ball rolling here and bounce back. So back in the Bulldogs, I think Port Adelaide due for a loss, and just based off that sort of logic, I think I'll go with the Bulldogs in this one. But yeah, it should be a close game. But yeah, Bulldogs will pick up the win on Friday night, and I reckon they'll win by probably a close game. We'll go Bulldogs by 13 points. Now for the Saturday games, first one we got here is the Hawks taking on the Brisbane Lions at the MCG. Well, Hawthorn, that was one of the worst and best performances you'll see from them so far this year. They did really well in the second half, but it was pretty much game over by halftime that game last week. They were just really bad without icely. Obviously, they had no defensive intent. Their pressure was pretty poor. They just lacked a lot of running carry, but we did see that as the game went on. But apart from that, I think the Hawks probably, yeah, look, they're just going to be up and down this year. They'll have good performances, they'll have bad performances. It's what we're going to see with a young team. And now versus the Lions, where they've been a little bit on and off, especially when going away. They were shell themselves against Adelaide the other week ago, but coming off the bye, I think they'll be fired up here. Historically, they're never really good, the MCG, so do you give the Hawks a sneaky chance here to maybe pick up an upset? Probably not. I think they might trouble them for maybe a quarter or two, but for me, the Brisbane Lions, they should be picking up this win here, and they should be beating the Hawks to stay in the top four. So we'll go the Lions. Just think they'll be too strong on paper, even though the Hawks might give them a bit of a run for their money with clearances. But yeah, the Lions to get the job done in the end and win by good quality game of footy. We'll go Lions by 27 points. Next game here, we've got Adelaide taking on the West Coast Eagles at Adelaide Oval. Well, obviously, right off the bat, the Eagles are massive outsiders here. Adelaide, they've just been on and off so far this year. They've been terrible away, but they've looked like a top four side at home. They look pretty much unbeatable there. They seem to play the best brand there. The midfield's always up and about, and their ball movement when they are in form is superb. But yeah, quite simple. Like a superstar team at home, away they don't. And against the Eagles, look, I felt like that, throughout patches, they will definitely take a lot of positives out of last week's game against the Pies. 𝐼𝐻𝐿 back in a bit of form, and 𝐲𝐻𝐿 as well. Yeah, I still think it's probably a bridge too far, so I think Adelaide are due a big win at home here, and I think they'll do it. We'll go the Crows to pick up a big one at home by 47 points. For the Saturday night game, we have the Dockers taking on the Tigers at Optus Stadium, 7:25 p.m. I like this matchup here. Tigers coming off just a much-needed win. Just a big one for their belief and just for the footy club with Andrew McWalter with his first win as interim coach. Obviously, the past 2 weeks, it's just been a bit of a whirlwind for the players and the footy club with Dimmer out of the door. So now with a win, they can probably start to try and build off that. And I think they genuinely can, because when you see the Tigers execute in their forward half, which have just been so inconsistent doing so far this year, they generally at times look like a top 8 side. I know people probably will laugh at that, but I still got good faith in them to maybe perch up the ladder a little bit throughout the rest of the season. But against the Dockers, who are now really starting to build back their fortress at home at Optus Stadium, their ball movement has been really good. We're starting to see players turn up another level with Strong and Brayshaw, and through their role players like Bailey Banfield was a whipping boy, but now he's a star player for the Dockers. So they're just getting good output from those particular players. And yeah, they're just playing a really good brand. And they sort of are matching Richmond, where they just want to try and force the ball, just whack it forward and win the ball at ground level. So yeah, I think this one could be a bit of a scrappy game. Tigers really will turn up, I do believe. But for me and the Dockers at home, I'll back them in to pick up a win that continues their winning streak. We'll go the Dockers to win by maybe a bit of a scrappy game. We'll go Dockers. I think this one could actually be close. We'll go Freo by 9 points. For the Sunday games, we do have North Melbourne taking on the Giants at Blundstone Arena, 3:20 p.m. North back in Tasmania, and they've been really unfortunate the past 3 weeks or so. Probably should have honestly picked up 2 wins against the Swans and against the Dons perhaps, but they were pretty much on the wrong end and on the unfortunate side of the result. But you can see now under Brett Ratten, they're starting to play a bit more run and gun footy, less chip marks, starting to really take the game on. Even with the outs they have, they've been playing really good, especially the young players. Wardlaw looks like a superstar. She's on the midfield as well. Phillips has been in some really good form as of late, coming back from injury, and their clearance game is very respectable. But yeah, against the Giants, who have always been on and off so far this year, I feel like they've been a very competitive team too. They've been unfortunate as well. Same with North Melbourne. They've been on the wrong side of a few results. But yeah, I think the Giants probably are due for a win. And with that said, many people probably will back in the Giants here. I didn't back him in last week. I went with the Tigers, and look, I feel like it's a bit against me to not back in the Giants again for 2 weeks in a row, but I'm just feeling a North win. I'm feeling something. They're quite frustrated. There's a bit of fire in the bellies. I don't think 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝑈's back. But yeah, you know, Greenwood out as well. I'm just feeling an against the odds sort of win. I expect the Giants to win this game, to really turn up and really pick up a solid win. And even just on paper, they look like the complete better side. But this could be horribly wrong. I just feel like North will turn up and win this game in Tassie and pick up a beauty. I reckon this will be the upset of the round. North Melbourne to pick up the upset. And we'll go the Kangas by 4 points. For the Sunday night game, we do have the Blues taking on the Dons, one of the more classic AFL rivalries at the MCG, 7:15 p.m. Well, geez, are the Blues in desperate need of a win? I think their past 5 or 6 results, they've all lost them. They are looking nowhere near a win, given how they are with their ball movement, etc. But I just feel like they are due for a good performance. Just the media has been, and the press as well, have just been slating the Blues on and off the field. The coach has been under pressure, the players have been under pressure, and just how they have been playing is really ugly, very inconsistent and poor ball movement, lacking a lot of creativity, just bombing it in long, of course, and they're not getting enough output from their forward half players, 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼 and 𝐼𝐻𝐾𝐿. I think from where they need to win this game, I think it's just pressure. They really need to try and force turnovers and really bring up the heat against the Dons here, because I feel like Essendon, if the Blues aren't up and about, they should really win this game convincingly, not going to lie, because yeah, they have been impressive the past 2 weeks. They've been playing quite a competitive brand of footy no matter who they are versing. It's a very close one odds-wise. I think it is a genuine 50-50 game. And as of late as well, I feel like the Dons have been really good in the air. They've been trying to take control of the game more with a lot more uncontested marks. They've been pretty good in the intercept game as well. And I feel like if the Blues are just going to do the same thing again, just bombing it long towards 𝐼𝐻𝐾𝐿, I feel like, you know, the likes of Ridley and Redmond can really be good in the air and just control the game. So if they can sort of play out of the Blues' favour, if they can just match even in the contest with the clearances contested possessions, where that's where the Blues are really good, I think the Bombers should win this game. But perhaps you just throw all the statistics out the window and you just watch you know, the Blues potentially pick up a win just based off belief and based off effort and intent and pressure. So yeah, it's a hard one to really tip, but yeah, just given the Blues are out of form, maybe the Dons are due for a bad game too and a loss. Hard one, I'll back in Essendon, I think. A really tough one, but I think the Dons will get the better of the Blues and they'll win. Maybe a close game up to maybe three-quarter time, but I reckon, yeah, the Dons run away with it and they'll win by 20 points. And for the game of the round, the big freeze, the Fight M&D game, all for a great cause on Monday afternoon. The D's versus the Pies at the MCG. Last year with both these teams playing, I tipped the D's twice. Collingwood won twice, so I'll probably tip Collingwood this time, and the D's win. I just cannot ever get it right, but you know, my tips aside and all that whatnot, the game itself, who I think will win this game of footy, let's just scrap all that aside. The D's aren't looking like a third-ranked team in the competition, given their ladder position. I think they've been out of form. They haven't been great with their ball movement. They've been, yeah, apart from their defence, which I think's been honestly really elite, they haven't really been too good at stoppage. And yeah, I just think their scoreboard pressure has been really inconsistent. Bailey Fritsch might pop up for a goal or two, but Kozzie Pickett's having quiet games, and yeah, just I think going inside 50, that's where they're really lacking. And the Pies are pretty much looking so a very good team across all facets of the ground. They're a very good defensive team. They're a team with high synergy. They're still a team that is very hard to defend on the transition. Clayton Oliver, of course, is back in for the D, so that's just a huge asset to their team in terms of clearance and contest work. And there are forced changes, of course, with the Pies. Jordan De Goey is not playing, so that's massive. He's one of the better centered clearances players in the competition, so it could really hurt the Pies here. So maybe it's a game that maybe is one in the midfield. Who can win off that? But for me, the Ds, I just don't know as of late with their scoreboard pressure. It isn't damaging enough, and against the Pies, they're always going to make you pay if you aren't executing well in your front half. So just because of that, I think Collingwood pick up this win, and I think many people will be backing in the Pies too. But hey, I think the Ds are due for a really good solid performance, but against the Pies, they'll just honestly make you pay. I'll stick safe with the Pies in this one, and I'll pick up a ripping game. I think this one will be close, maybe up to three-quarter time, but I reckon the Pies will run away with it and win by 16 points. So over on there were my tips for round 13 of the 2023 AFL season. If you wanted to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my tips and your tips as well. As I always do, love to hear your fellas' opinions. Once again, everyone, thank you very much for watching today's video, and until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.